Our sponsors for this episode are Shamrock Car Wash. Shamrock Car Wash has 3 convenient locations in Newton, Wichita, and Mays. They were also voted Best Car Wash in Harvey County for 2024. Shamrock Car Wash offers a traditional hands-on wash bays, but also touts an in-bay touch-free wash and dry for an effortless clean. Make sure to look them up and follow them on Facebook at Shamrock Car Wash. That's Shamrock Car Wash. Or you can visit them online at theshamrockcarwash.com. That's theshamrockcarwash.com. MTO Commercial and Residential Cleaning Services. MTO has been, still is, and will always be a locally owned and operated company. Paula started MTO in 1994 and has been serving Harvey County residents ever since. If you're looking for a one-time clean or a weekly, bi-weekly, or a monthly spruce-up, no need to worry. MTO gives free estimates. Give Paula a call at 316-288-9141. That's 316-288-9141. Absolute Drain. Look. No one, and I mean no one, likes it when their sink, bathtub, washing machine, or especially their toilets start backing up. It's even worse when they won't drain or flush at all. No matter who you are, it happens to us all. If this is happening to you, then you need to give Garth with Absolute Drain a call. Absolute Drain is located at 420 West Broadway in Newton and has been faithfully serving Newton and surrounding areas for longer than I can even remember. I personally use Absolute Drain, and they have kept my pipes cleaned out and flowing day one. It might just be time for you to give them a call too at 316-283-7264. That's 316-283-7264. Well, hello, everybody, and hello, Andy and Chad. How was your guys' week this week?
Fine. Despite, both parents coming down with COVID, it's been a decent week, kind of got through everything. And kiddo went to his, along with a bunch of other freshmen from this freshman class, went to their first golf outing, played in scramble format, and everybody played well. I didn't get to see it. It was in Hutchinson, but, it was a good week.
Yeah. Andy?
Week's been good. Making it to the gym, 2 for 2 this week, which is great. I get one more in, I meet my goal, and I'm going to try to surpass it this week by beating it by a day, which is good for me. Diet's going good as far as intake and just being more mindful about my nervous eating when I go to the refrigerator and just open it randomly for no reason other than I just want to feed my addiction.
Yeah.
And, it was really hard the first couple weeks, but when I start getting hungry, I'm starting to enjoy my mindset in that space because I'm looking to, I know my body's burning. And it's not normal for me because usually what I do, and this is how bad I am, I'll go get a spoon, open my Peter Pan peanut butter that I love since I was a kid, grab a huge freaking dollop of peanut butter and put it back.
Peanut butter spoon.
That's how bad I am. That's how much sugar and all that stuff my body craves. And I meet that addiction every time. I've never really, for so many years, I haven't fought it since I haven't been an athlete, which has been better part of 20 years now. That's crazy to say in itself. But yeah, I'm in a good space, man. My head's a little more clear. I'm sleeping good. Believe it or not, I'm sleeping 5.5 hours a night, which is crazy for me. So yeah, things are good.
Yeah. Have you guys tried? I've doing more and more research on this before I do anything here, but you guys have heard of intermittent fasting, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Where you just have like a 24 or 48, I think it's like a 48-hour period of time where you just don't eat anything except for water. I mean, drink water, maybe a little apple here or whatever the case may be. I understand self-sustainability here, but we ought to talk about that on the program. Benefits to that at a later point in time when I have a little bit more research on it. But I've seen people that have lost some weight. I went to the gun show here this last weekend and saw somebody that almost was unrecognizable to me. They had lost, they were like 300 pounds. Of course, they're a giant of a person anyway, right? They're like 6'6". But it's this, it was, I didn't recognize them at first because they had lost so much weight and they were looking, he's like, I tried the intermittent fasting thing and it's working. I'm like, yeah, it's working. Obviously, I mean,
That's
You're
awesome.
unrecognizable. You know?
I have a business partner who did that, and he looks really good. And with our lifestyles, for my lifestyle, that's literally what I'm kind of doing. I only eat in a small block of window every day, and that block of window is dinner. And that's the block I eat. Everything else is coffee and water, which I know I could do less coffee, but I really don't drink it after 11 o'clock ish, depending on the situation. But then just water, and I throw a little flavor. I have Kool-Aid packets that I throw in there because I like that. I'm a Kool-Aid drinker, especially in the summertime. But my buddy, my business partner, did that, and he lost about 50 pounds, and all he did was just eat in a block of time. Every day he eats in a block of time. And I'm doing that too because, again, my lifestyle is so crazy. I can grab a burger. I can grab a sandwich somewhere. Next thing you know, I've eaten 3 or 4 times. Then I'm coming home and eating dinner. And then my conditioning is so bad to grab some sugar or something, which, again, it comes back to just conditioning yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm horrible with that part of my diet. I do all these other things pretty well, but my diet I suck at, and it shows. So I'm taking control of it, and it actually feels real good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Before we go any farther, I just want to remind people of upcoming events. For instance, here we go. Sand Creek Summer Days. Make sure and save the date for that. That is going to be June 20th, 2025. Okay. Am I doing something wrong, Andy?
No, my cat got in this side of our studio.
Well, heck, the
One of my
kitty.
farm cats.
You see,
Sorry, guys.
Andy's over here looking over to the side. I'm like, what am I doing?
He must have popped open that door. So I was like, what is he doing in here?
So we do have farm animals here while we're so if you see a goat pass by or a pig or a sheep or anything like that,
Might be a
no
cow
worries.
wobbling,
No worries. They're supposed to be here. We're the ones that, maybe not so much. I don't know. This is kind of their house or whatever. But on the Sand Creek Summer Days thing coming up June 20th, 2025. They've got 2 more days. You need to follow them on their social media page, Sand Creek Summer Days. Just look it up, follow it if you don't already, just to see what they got going on. They're really good on social media. 2 days.
We're going to be announcing
days.
Sand Creek Charlie on Saturday.
See, and that's what I looked him up because I was like, man, I want to see who Sand Creek Charlie is and talk about it on the program. But
They wanted to keep a lid on it. They had a date in mind that they wanted to keep a lid on it for it, and so I'll be nice and we'll keep the lid on. But the lid's
so you know who it is?
Yeah, I know who it is.
What?
The announcement's coming.
Come on, Chad.
Nope.
Throw it out there, Chad. Just accidentally make a mistake and throw it out there so we can first time on A.
They used that secret word. They used the secret word.
Go grab the bucket
So,
and the chair.
Does the first name start with A, B, C, D?
No comment.
Okay. All right. So
Run
we're going to
the
have to wait.
alphabet.
We're
We'll
going to
no
have
comment on the whole thing.
So Chad can keep a secret for those that maybe wonder whether Chad can keep a secret or not, or whether it just finds its way into the news and he's wanting to get on the fast train there to be number 1. Chad's going to keep a secret.
Hey, I can keep a secret, and I think I prove that every Friday. So there you go.
All right. Another thing that's coming up that's a big event going on in Newton is May 2nd. There is a cruise night, and May 3rd, which is the Saturday, is the Newton Car Show. Just a reminder that the Newton Car Show, all the proceeds that they receive from that then gets turned back around. CCRT is the one that is heading that up. And then, of course, so they get a portion of that, right? But then they're a nonprofit. Then it goes to all these other entities that are nonprofits too. So last year there was 3. I don't know what they're going to do this year on that. We could look them up, call them, and see who's going to be the recipients of that as we get a little bit closer. But if you don't have a cool car or truck to register to put in it, make sure and show up and enjoy what all of these people's hard work and effort has been to get out there. I mean, years of putting money, time, and effort into a vehicle, and then to be able to go and show it for the community. And it's so easy just to go. They're gonna have food trucks and all kinds of stuff. And then I also want to send a shout out specifically to Midway Motors. I've done this before, but Midway Motors, Matt, the general manager of Midway Motors, they always invest in our community over and over and over and over and over again. And the car show is another way. So on the cruise night, what happens is the cruise leaves the high school, they travel down 12th, they travel down Main Street, and then everybody goes to Midway Motors, and that's where they park and set up. So they're a block sponsor, which is a huge thing. There's only so many blocks that can be sponsored. They've been a block sponsor for I don't know how many years now. They just pour into the Newton Car Show. Midway Motors and Matt pour into different entities and organizations around our community, and they just need a shout out. So May 2nd, May 3rd, make sure that you got that marked on your calendars for what's going on. But other than that, Chad, what do we got for local news?
What do we got for local? Well, where do you want me to start?
Wherever you think is the most spicy, headline friendly, whatever. I mean, whatever the good title is that you can have that doesn't necessarily explain it in the article and might not be the same, but whatever is just going to grab that attention, Jen.
Boy, that's helpful.
Was that
Are
too
we doing
descriptive?
2 weeks in a row for a headliner, or is that a different topic headline?
That
for
can.
us?
Well,
Have at it.
you want spicy? Here's spicy.
Uh-oh. Here we go. Here we go.
So we had a woman from Hutchinson show up at the county commission this week, and during the public comment, she announced that she's trying to enter into a business agreement with a woman from Burton, but the woman from Burton does not actually live in the city limits. That's really kind of important, because they're wanting to put up a fireworks stand over by Burton. Folks in Newton, I need you to understand, it's not just us that has to hash out all these issues all the time, right? I mean, seriously. Mm-hmm. And the reason that this is all problematic is that in 2015, the county commission passed a resolution that banned fireworks sales. Now, oh man, there's all hundreds of ways I can go about this, right? But they would like to have a fireworks stand in the Burton area. There was one in the city limits. The guy who did that for years has walked away. He's moved away. He's not doing it anymore. So if there's going to be something over there, it's going to probably be these guys that are going to do it. But they can't get a permit at this time because by resolution it was banned in 2015. That does not agree with the planning and zoning rules. Planning and zoning says that to have a fireworks stand, you have to have a conditional use permit, which if they want this conditional use permit, they need to apply by Friday.
So they're under the gun.
They're under the gun. They need to apply by Friday because there's not going to be a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board in June. They need to get it on the calendar for, May. And so all of this, it's just this big, huge, blasted mess. So here's one of those weird rabbit hole directions that one can go. Again, here we are. If they were to figure out a way to get a piece of property inside the city limits, they could go for it.
And wouldn't need the approval of the commission.
They wouldn't need the approval of the county commission. They wouldn't need the approval of the planning and zoning board. Now, why is all of that important? Because immediately after they got done talking, we heard from the folks opposed to the Bess plant over in Halstead. And their big problem that they're having right now is that application does not fall under the county planning and zoning board, which has already banned it. It falls under the city planning and zoning board, which has not made a determination.
I'm surprised you didn't lead with the Bess Mess thing, right? Like, I'm going to call it the Bess Mess.
Well, I mean, we've got parallel stories.
Yeah.
We have parallels. That's how these things are related. Mm. It's city rules versus county rules. Mm-hmm. And there's a belief out there that in all things like this, that the city can be less restrictive, but not more restrictive. Or no, the city can be more restrictive, but not less restrictive.
Than the county.
Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily work that way.
Right.
Well, and I've actually tried to reach out on 2 different occasions now. Got the receipts to get someone that is opposed to the Bess facility coming to Halstead in order to have them sit down, just like I had Dennis Travis, mayor of Halstead, give them the same opportunity. Pretty much ask the same questions.
45 minutes to dig it out.
Yeah, just I want to hear your side of the story. Like I'm somebody that believes we live in a society right now at this point in time that if you get into a funnel, they're going to try to tell you X, Y, and Z, and there might be some question there to that, but they're going to push that message. And then you have the other side that's going to push this message. And if you're not looking at both sides of it, and you don't have information from both sides to say, this is the way one side looks at it, this is the way the other side looks at it, what truth is there in this, weigh both of them together equally, and then come to a conclusion as to what you personally believe about the situation, it's futile. So the end result is I was branded as media, so I'm not allowed to be a part of their Facebook group, obviously.
Same here.
To be able to understand, like, what are they saying? And for what it's worth, I try to consume as much information as I can.
But what would be wrong with media wanting to be a part of the discussions?
They want to protect.
They want to keep their privacy.
About what though? If it's a public issue, unless you're being funky, I'm just going to say it how I see it. So I will tell you, no matter what candidate you liked during the last election, the ones that got out, Trump got out in front of people and just talked and did Trump, whether you like him or not. It was all out there. It was on the table. It was consistent. And Kamala didn't do, except for a small few, and it was very scripted and controlled, and people admitted as such. And people didn't like that. If she would have went out and discussed, maybe that would have been different. But this is the kind of stuff that bothers me, is all you want to do is ask probing questions to say, hey, maybe there's another side I'm not seeing here, because from the other communications, it's not all the way done. They're in exploring mode. But in exploring mode, you want to have discussions. And if you're cutting off access to media who could actually help you if you had a good case, because all you have to do is tell your truth.
Yeah.
And let the community decide where it lands at the end of the day for each individual, given both sides of the story. So I get suspicious when you're not willing to just talk about it with today's day and age and the ability we have to do that today.
Yeah.
So, and in this case, they're raising concerns that, quite honestly, are valid and should not be dismissed and need to be discussed and talked through. I mean, straight up.
End of story.
I mean, I'm even going to name. I'm going to name a name. Kevin Henderson in Halstead, and he and I do not see eye to eye quite often, and he knows this, and he will acknowledge this. But I'm going to tell you, Kevin, your concerns are valid, and they need to be talked through. So when you sit there and you talk about what's gone on in California with the Bess facility there,
Moss Landing,
your concern is valid, but we need to talk about that
and work it out.
And we need to work that out. We need to. My job would be to ask questions like, how is this facility going to be different from that one?
Which, with the research that I have done, because I'm following Dennis Travis,
who's communicating and
openly and honestly and respectfully. I mean, that's what it is.
And they're going to be looked at as pro this deal because you're saying that. But if you don't get the other side of the story, how can you not start leaning one way? And that's the problem with this. For a guy like me,
then I'll look at Kevin. You're concerned with our groundwater. You're concerned with the equus beds, dude. That is absolutely valid. We need to talk about that. So what does the groundwater management district have to say about this? And what protections can be put in place? And if the only protection is to ban these things completely, fine. But if there's other protection methods that can be put in place, we need to explore those. Again, these are valid concerns these people are bringing forward.
What would cause one?
My question is why, when you have such valid concerns, are you shutting people like me completely out?
Well,
and I think it's because they want this guise of privacy, and they also want to control the conversation. Okay,
So that's the perception.
So they
right
want.
In my opinion.
That's the perception. So the perception is what you want, Kevin. What you want is to be able to write your letter to the editor unchecked. You want to be able to come and talk to the county commission unchecked. You want to continue to do these things pretty much unchecked when it's my job to check you.
So you somewhat answered my question. I was going to ask you, and you too, Lance, what would cause, I mean, if you're passionate about something, it's uncomfortable. A lot of people don't do what you guys do, right? And can jump on and just speak out to the world unabashed. So that can be uncomfortable for people that aren't in the world that we live in, especially at scale. But when you're passionate about something, what would cause somebody to not, outside of being nervous because it's an intimidating media? Lance, you interview one-on-one people all the time that don't usually have a voice outside of what you give them. And Chad, you do it too in a different way, but you do it. You've been doing it for 30 years. But for your style, Lance, it's a newer style. So you'll give people a platform and a top quality experience to get their message out in front of people that serve people in different ways where there's not the budget or funds to Agape and things like that you've done.
Yeah.
It's scary for them, I think, sometimes. I get to see some of them when they come in and out of the studio and realize, oh yeah, it's kind of intimidating when you walk in here and you see what we have sitting here. They're going, oh wow, like this is a production. It's like, yeah, I could see where that could be nerve-wracking. Outside of that, what is driving that lack of communication? And you answered it for the most part, unless there's another angle that I'm not seeing here.
Well, I think it dovetails with what you said, because you're not flat out saying it, but there's fear. Man, you got to stick your own neck out there. That's scary.
Did you hear the Iowa?
Yeah.
I heard it.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, and the Mennonite stuff too. It was there, all in the same little
Don't you know?
and the passion that came underneath it. Okay, so I really want to, because this is important for us to understand our community and how they perceive what we're trying to do here. I think is important. Which is, there's another thing where, do you think a piece of it is their private group? They feel more comfortable messing up behind the scenes and they don't want that public because they are still working through conversations.
Sure.
So on the other side of the offensive side for them, it's like, well, we don't really want to say something and later go, oh shoot, media picked that up and it makes us look bad because we're not all the way there either in our conversation. I mean, I guess we can show grace there.
And there's also a lack of trust.
Okay.
And I want to pick on that. Okay.
Go with that.
I was going to say
there's
one
a
thing.
lack of trust. There's a lack of trust
That's the root.
in us.
That's the root.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd say two-part thing. One, what was coming to mind just to answer it, and I'm sure I won't make any friends over it, but the reason you hide your conversations is because you don't have a strong argument, and you know it. That's number one, right? I truly believe that. The second one is, if this person wants to put their message forward, then if they see anybody that's not on board with their message, if I was out there liking every post they had, agreeing with everything they said, you know, even when the person writes in their inaccurate information, if I'm carrying that message, oh yeah, the prevailing winds are from the west, and oh, this is going to turn into the same exact situation as Moss Landing or whatever the case may be, and I don't have the ability to think critically, and I'm just in your choir basically, then you're more likely to come on the program versus if you think that I'm not someone who's already drunk the Kool-Aid, come to the same conclusion as you and going to follow this all the way through to the end. and not ask questions.
Well, and sometimes the beauty is, Lance and Chad, is somebody that has drank the Kool-Aid and sitting them down and giving them information to make them see your side as well. That's the great part of debate, right?
Yeah.
And you guys are a lot better at it than I am, but at the end of the day, I think that's what we should strive for is hey, that they got some pretty good arguments that I want to overcome those objections and show my side of it. So let's do this. And maybe they're just not there yet. That other team of people who are looking for reasons for it not to work for whatever reasons, because there are people looking for it to work because they see the financial benefits that could probably be helpful for Halstead. And I see those two battling right now.
Yes.
But the thing is where's the middle of that conversation? And I think you said it, Kevin, I think is the name you used.
Yes.
You want to work out, you want to hear that debate because all you have is questions at this point. And until the Equus beds is a big deal for a lot of people.
It's a big, huge deal.
And that's a nice bullet to shoot out there. And it's like, okay, let's talk about that.
And so, just
that could be a game changer for the whole project.
To be perfectly candid about the Equus beds, and I don't know that I've ever stated this publicly, but the Equus beds was the reason and the only reason that I opposed the wind energy project. I don't want that stuff over the top of our groundwater. I don't want it over our water supply. I'm just being straight, man.
Yeah, it's all good.
And the fact of the matter is, it's now that I'm making that statement about my personal opinion on that. Right? I wasn't making that statement.
No, you didn't say anything.
During
that was
debate.
How many? 2
so
years
it's
ago?
kind of so it's kind of the same deal here, right? It's the same deal here. I'm not going to be making that kind of a statement right now when it comes to the Bess energy plant.
But you kind of hinted that you're concerned.
But I am concerned.
You heard it here first, folks.
You want
I am concerned.
You want this answered. That's the thing.
But the question I have is, how do we protect the Equus beds?
Yeah, is there a process of mitigating the potential for there to be a problem? And if there is,
well, I don't want a problem mitigated. I want it prevented.
100%.
Okay, let's say I'll go with
that. That's the question. How do you prevent that problem?
And here's the thing.
And if the answer is no, we got an issue. If the answer is we can do this, this, and this, okay, I can be a lot less queasy about the Equus bed.
Maybe for it, maybe not still for it,
right?
But yeah, this.
But that's the deal, right? Now, I made a statement that there's a lack of trust, okay? And here's what I meant by that, because it was in reference to this Facebook group being closed off to me, and they're unabashed about it.
Yeah, same with me. Same with me.
They were very kind about it or respectful about it, but I ain't gonna lie, I was pretty peeved. When I say a lack of trust, they don't trust that I'm gonna sit there and read through that and go, oh, here's a good comment. Here's a good comment. I wonder if they are willing to let me use that. They expect what their belief is that I'm going to be like, oh, here's a good comment, here's a good comment, here's a good, okay, story, copy, paste, done. It does not work that way. And I think I just demonstrated that. I just demonstrated that by saying, I know who Sand Creek Charlie is, but they don't want it out yet.
Okay, and here's this. Okay.
And there's a process that has to be gone through.
Yeah, yeah.
For journalists with ethics, there's a process that has to be gone through. Here's a good comment. I wonder if they want me to use it. I'm going to message them and ask. And not be butthurt, not be angry when they say no. And just be respectful, and just move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So yeah. I have 100% trust in you.
Oh, but there's a lot of people you don't.
Well, I have 100, not 99.9 trust in you, but I don't like what you say sometimes, but I always respect you at the end of the day.
Yeah, because you're an honest person. You have integrity.
Yeah, and that's the friendship versus the professional life versus some of our community ties. So and it's a moving, working monster of a relationship. And me and you work in so many parallels that we've had our talk. We know one day, and we've already been there in some sense at little pieces where we've stepped on each other's toes. We're going to be fine, but we may have a blowout, but I love you. And if you need a week or two or a few days, we're going to deal with that, but we're going to communicate as soon as we're both ready, because we both know we're headstrong and hard-headed. And Lance, we've had that talk because of what we do together.
We don't always agree on everything. For people that think that we sit here and we agree on stuff, that is not the way it works. But and here's the deal. That, you know, I was talking with somebody the other day at the Newton Area Chamber of Commerce breakfast, and then had a follow-up conversation with them in their office, and it was something that I realized we needed to articulate better about this program, the three of us, with the rest of the world, because, you know, we are doing what needs to happen when it comes to local, national, political conversations, right? We don't all see eye to eye. We are hopefully progressively educating people on how to watch these conversations unfold in a respectful nature. That's part of the education that we talk about on the program. And I'll say this too. I don't know of anybody that's come on this program with me when been invited or when asked to come on that says, my God, Lance was the hardest hitting interview I've ever been a part of. He just questioned everything that I said he wanted. No, that's not what this is about. This is about providing a platform for you to speak. And in that format, it's not my opinion. Like, I don't ask you gotcha questions. I let you speak what you have to speak, get that down. You present your message 100%, and then that's on you, right? That's on you. I've often said this. I would love, because I love to debate, okay? If somebody wants to come on this program and debate, and you want to reach out to me and say, hey, this is how I feel about a certain topic, and this is the other topic. It's like Dennis Travis. If Dennis Travis wants to come out here because he doesn't have anybody from the other side that wants to debate him, I'll debate him with all that I can about the other side, just to be able to pick his brain. But we haven't done that on this program yet.
Well, I know for a fact that because of our relationship, you've had people that you disagreed with, but you still platformed them, and you didn't take the stance I thought you were going to take, because one-on-one, you had arguments that you didn't bring out when you had this person here, that you would have ripped them apart, but you just let them speak.
Yeah.
And you didn't do it. And that's pretty interesting. I have seen you do that, which is it's pretty cool. If people know behind the scenes what that really looks like, I've seen you do it. And I respect you for that. And when I see the behind the scenes stuff that the public doesn't get to see, and then I see what you do in action, and then you see some of what people want to say that don't know you, it's pretty interesting to me to watch that. And it allows me to jump in and say, hey, whoa, tell me more, because usually they can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you know, I've had conversations with both of you. I've had somebody out here and I didn't necessarily agree with them. I gave them their platform to speak. I didn't argue with them about anything. And then after I had the interview with them, then I went and I had a conversation with you guys or a friend or somebody to really say, okay, well, this is what they said, but I mean, what about this? Or what about this? And it gives me the opportunity to challenge myself to say, well, they have a valid point here, and I understand that's what they're saying, and it just allows for the conversation to transpire in the way that it is. It totally rules out us getting into our little funnels of, you know, what we believe and never being able to hear what anybody else has to say. Okay, so we spent a lot of time on this. Yeah. I just I want to send this back over to Chad. Hendrickson just keeps winning. Okay, not only NCAA heavyweight champion, okay, beating a gold medalist, but now he is the recipient of the Hodge Award. What is the Hodge Award, Chad?
I'm gonna give you the explanation that I think everybody will understand. Wyatt Hendrickson just won the equivalence of the Heisman Trophy. It is the best of the year. That's a big deal. Okay? And you know, just like football, there's all kinds of awards that can be won. But there is one that goes to the best. Unlike football, he doesn't have to be a quarterback. right? Because the Heisman Trophy has turned into this thing where you got to be a quarterback. But the ideals of the Heisman is it goes to the best player in the college ranks that year. And that's what he won. And there's going to be a parade for Wyatt at the end of April. Man, I hope everybody shows up.
Yeah.
Because this is
the streets out.
He just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah.
And not just because he's lifting weights. He just keeps getting bigger. Yeah. And it can't be a better person.
Once again,
cannot be.
Yeah. Congratulations, Wyatt Hendrickson, for everything that you've done throughout your entire life of consistency and dedication has led to this point, and you deserve every bit you get. I say this both positive and negative. People that choose to squander their God-given talents and abilities and wind up in a situation where they are at the bottom of the heap, you get what you deserve, period. You get what you worked for. If you didn't, then you don't. But on cases like Wyatt, where a person dedicates their entire life to being not only a good human being, but then make it more finite and say a given sport, and then how much they've just been able to accomplish through that. I mean, we need a sign out on the interstate that says Newton, Kansas, home of Wyatt Hendrickson, NCAA heavyweight champion 2025. I think that's great. And if you can hear it, folks, we do have a kitty cat that's talking. I keep fighting myself to go over and be like, here, kitty, come sit on my lap and let me pet you while I'm doing this. It's like soothing. No, you're all right. It is. That's funny. But okay. So then once we move on here, something that I read that was kind of interesting is probably just a short blip, but if those that remember the situation in Marion, the Marion record, there's a nice lady died out of the deal, the whole thing, all of it together, has now, the headline is that the 3 lawsuits have been allowed to move forward with the Marion record, so says a federal judge. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Same as what it was when we talked about it in the past?
Pretty much. There's a whole bunch of people that screwed up. Now they need to pay. Mm-hmm. I mean, seriously.
Well, what's scary about that is
it was a bad deal, and there's a lot of layers there.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers.
Mm-hmm. And the timing that it happened did not help with everything else going on in the country at the time. It all sunk together in this perfect storm of craziness.
Yeah. Yeah. So keep your eye out for that. That's not that story's not over with. Obviously, we're going to watch this unfold, and it might take years for it to unfold. But results don't come overnight. Obviously, I think it is interesting that how do I say that? We need to remember that our choices have consequences. And if you're in an official capacity and you are not doing what you should be in that official capacity, then the consequences are even greater 9 times out of 10 than if you were just a regular old citizen making decisions, because it's an abuse of power. It's an abuse of power. It really is. And in a small community like that, that's even more difficult because the type of liability that's levied at that point in time in a town the size of that is quite possibly going to affect the citizens of that community greatly, because they don't have the ability to compensate maybe where compensation needs to take place for choices that were done with the people that were hired to be in the official capacity in their community. So you guys have anything else to say on that? Okay, moving down the list. Black mass fallout. And I just want to cover this briefly here because, okay, for anybody that's listening, I'm not a Satanist, okay? I'm a Christian, all right? But I'm also somebody that knows and understands that, and this is the way I always frame it, when we are a country that allows for people to practice their religious beliefs without the restriction of government, right, or preference towards one or the other, I look at it from the perspective of, yeah, I would really like for there to be no black mass at the state capitol. Okay, I don't want that. I don't like that. But I always put the shoe on the other foot and say, well, am I okay with there being somebody that walks into? I mean, here's my thing. Okay, and granted, it's not apples to apples and oranges to oranges. But what if Lance was to take his Bible into the state capitol, stand at the rotunda, start reading scriptures from my holy book and praying out loud and saying, God bless the state capitol, bless everybody in here. Somebody who doesn't agree with my faith decides they're going to come up and try to rip my Bible out of my hand on numerous occasions until eventually, after they're committing crimes against me and nobody's doing anything about it, I sock them in the face a couple times because I'm defending myself. Now, I'm not going to frame it that that's the way it actually transpired, because there's a lot more to it than that, right? There's a lot more to it than that. But when you have people taking sides one way or the other, the difficult part for me is it's real great when your faith is in the majority, when the my government wants to limit, restrict, or otherwise pick one state religion over another, which happens to be mine. But then what do we do when all of a sudden my religion's not in the majority? Right? We set precedents.
Look at what's happening in Germany, right? That's what happens. You take the Muslims and they do what they're doing over there, and they're changing their culture and they're changing their way of life, and they want their way of life to be the rule. And it is moving in that direction very fast. And that's what happens in my book, and I don't want to be that. And I understand I'm biased 100%, but I'm going to stand on that, and I do have a problem with it. I believe that we're a Christian country founded on the foundation of that. We have In God We Trust on our money, and I know we can get into little arguments here and there, but that was meant, I think, by our founders as under the Christian umbrella. And yes, there's different sectors and different segments of that, and people break that out differently. But at the end of the day, I have a problem with Satanists coming in and proclaiming Satan for everything I know about it, and we would probably have an issue if me and that person met. So that's where I'm at.
And he'd be there trying to rip the book out of his
hand.
I would
probably do that. We would probably fought outside, but I mean, I would go to jail. I'll go to jail for that.
And my thought is, like, not to, before I turn it over to Chad, is that's on them.
Yeah.
Right. That
I will say
is
that,
on them, and their life, their faith, their eternal whatever that is, based upon whatever they got going on. What do you got, Andy?
I think that guy wasn't supposed to be in there doing that, so there's another piece there that's not really discussed. And I understand what you're saying, but there is that piece where there's some trespassing in my mind's eye before that even happened. Doesn't make it right for the other person to start touching somebody. Never right. And the cops should have intervened as soon as that guy tried to start touching and grabbing that guy's Bible, and then they should have escorted the Satan worshiper out. But it got messy, and the guy did punch him. And am I against that or not? If somebody tried to grab my Bible, I would probably try to punch him too, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it's assault, isn't it?
Yeah.
Last I checked.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot wrong there.
It was an attempt to do bodily harm.
But I would chip in.
Read your statutes.
I would chip in to bail the Christian guy out of jail. That's who I am.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
And then there's that after the fact, too.
I'm saying that the punches thrown.
Yeah. The book.
Those are attempts to do bodily harm. Okay? Ripping a book out of somebody's hand is not necessarily an attempt to do bodily harm.
That'll be an interesting debate in the court.
Yeah. Because it appeared to me that it continued to escalate. So I'm going to say, if somebody was coming up there trying to grab my book, and I told them, get away from me, and kept trying to do what I was doing, and they came up and they tried to grab my book again. In the state of Kansas, you do have the ability to stand your ground, which means you don't have to retreat, right? So if you're just so then let's say this. It was a mess, like a complete mess, and not only that,
it was a heck of a takedown.
Yeah, right.
Just saying.
Well, and
really nice single leg.
And I got to go. The law enforcement. We could sit there and be critical about how that transpired, or whether law enforcement did what they should have done or not done, or whatever the case be. But I am not going to put myself in their situation, because it was kind of this out of control scenario. They did the best they had with what they knew at the time. No fault on them. I take it back to this: can the state capitol prevent me, a citizen from going in and opening up my Bible and reading my Bible out loud and then making a prayer and blessing the state capitol to the name of Jesus Christ?
No, they cannot.
But they're saying they can, and that's where the problem then lies with, because when that person went in there to do that...
That is impinging upon the free exercise of religion.
Now, does it change it when it
Just
becomes...
read the First Amendment. I've said this for years, and I'm not saying that this includes you guys, but I am saying it includes some of the people that have been talking about this. Okay? Please, from now on, can we reserve arguments about the First Amendment to people who have actually read the darn thing?
He's already setting up the next argument. I see where he's going.
Just read the darn thing.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's the next one after that one.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Just read the darn thing.
Flip it here too.
It's inherently clear that you cannot infringe upon the exercise of any religion,
whether you like the religion or not.
Exactly.
And they put that in there to
they
prevent
can't.
from a theocracy style of dictatorship, because that's gonna, when our founding fathers did what they did, it was based upon the fact to prevent what they had seen ruin other countries all over the world.
We seem to have this thing in our heads that the First Amendment is there to protect the government from religion. No. It is to protect religion from the government. Ronald Reagan Jr. and I do not agree on much, but we agree on that. So when the legislature wants to say, well, we're not going to let you do this, it's going to have to be a blanket then.
And then you
can't allow for any religion coming in.
Well, and then
period.
And then you get into precedents, which is, in the past, I know very well that there has been situations and times in which they allow for that very same thing that person was trying. I mean, here's what I got to say. Regardless of how you feel about the situation, I'm going to make a prophetic statement here. That guy's going to make some money out of this.
Oh yeah,
and that's what a lot of them want.
Yeah. And that's probably was his entire goal.
It's a gotcha moment.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
he knew what he was doing. And speaking of what people say, I want to go down to the very bottom one of what we pointed out, and just most people know who John Whitmer is. It's got the John Whitmer program. It's every Sunday on KNSS 1330 AM. That's what, if I listen to it, that's how I listen to it. It's predominantly a very red program. But I want to ask a question to you guys about, this is what media does, and I think it's so interesting. Okay, I was listening today. Of course, I was thinking about bringing this on, but if you guys know, Jasmine Crockett, okay, is really going after Elon Musk. All right, look up Jasmine Crockett, and you'll know exactly who that is. According to John Whitmer in his own statements, Jasmine Crockett is threatening violence against Elon Musk, and here's where he got this, because she said he should be taken down. Now, if somebody says somebody needs to take Lance down, they need to take HCTalk down, well, how can I say, or how can someone else say, well, there's somebody threatening violence against HCTalk. There's somebody threatened violence against me because they said I need to be taken down. How does that to me, that is a complete misrepresentation of what the individual said. That does go very far into interpretation of how you perceive what they're saying, and then what you want to say they're saying, even though they're not saying it. Because unless Jasmine Crockett comes out and says, we need to go cause bodily harm to Elon Musk, we need to go and kill this person, then are they threatening violence? Because you can interpret taken down a lot of different ways, like boycotting, or smearing the person, canceling the person, flooding whoever with phone calls, whatever you need to do in order to try to take this person down. What are you guys' thoughts on that? To me, it's so nefarious. It's just so nefarious, and I lost quite a bit of respect over time when it comes to that individual and what they do and how they operate. But that's just my opinion.
So here's my take on it. And my take is based on your description and your questioning. So the woman who came into the Kansan office screaming at the top of her lungs over a photo of a traffic accident and was screaming at me saying I needed to be fired and that my business needed to be run out of business. She was not violent. That was not violent rhetoric. But the death threat letter that I got that night was violent and violent rhetoric. And she didn't send that letter. Somebody else did.
A death threat?
Yeah,
Chad.
I've gotten them.
I have too. But they never showed up. Damn it.
Yeah. You kind of wish they just once they would.
They don't know us three are like waiting for it. It's like, I do what I do knowing that I'm probably pissing people off along the way, and I'm always ready.
So, I guess my thing is, Whitmer just, dude, you have the right to say what you want to say, but please get in touch with your inner ethics here, buddy. I mean,
hey, there's no ethics when things sell.
I mean, come on.
Then everybody that listens to this person goes, oh my God, Jasmine Crockett is threatening violence against Elon Musk. And that just fuels their fans, their flames. And it's like, that's not even true. It's not even true. You're taking a very, very, very small possible way to look at the overall and then trying to project that as though it's fact, and it's not fact. And over time, not saying anything about John or anything. I've been on this program. Okay. I get it. I get what you're doing, but there needs to be some integrity here, right? It's making me move farther and farther away and tell people I wouldn't listen to that program because, well, you know what you're going to get every time you do it. You're not even going to get a discussion. You're going to get a talking head that is doing nothing but trying to fan the flames for one side, and that's all there is.
I'll be a talking head for a minute.
Okay.
Can I take a left down another dirt road?
Have at it.
Sure.
Jimmy Kimball Live. That was an inference towards doing damage to Teslas. That was real, and it was an inference. If you look at the whole thing, he meant, but you can't really get it in court because he played games, but he was inferring continue the chaos. And John Whitmer's holding on to a conversation like this, in my opinion, because there is a lot of people doing exactly that. So I didn't hear what she said in totality. I don't know anything about how she presented it, but there's those little inferences that people are doing with the little pauses in between when they say stuff that's telling people and catcalling to go do those things. And why are they, because I'm not in that camp, why are the them, which I know is dangerous to speak like that, but it's true because I'm not in that camp in this scenario.
We do it.
I just want to be clear about that. Doing what they're doing. It's just hateful. It's destructive. There's nothing okay about that. It's weakness. It's your argument. You don't have an argument, so you're going to go and act a fool and destroy property, which is exactly what we're saying about some of the other stuff we talked about at the beginning of the program, is formulate a decent argument and take it and debate people and go get your message out there and clarify and clean it up. And I don't know of one of us that don't get stronger over time if we really believe in something and we can formulate a good argument. And a lot of times, if you're a fair-minded person, there's times when you go into something like I have in my life and go, man, I wasn't looking at that right. Thank God these people challenged me and made me see the different side of that.
Okay,
there's your Bethel College education.
Come here.
Man, I can't wait to have dinner with those guys tomorrow. But that's beside the point.
Yeah.
All right. So once I just got to drive this home. Okay. Free speech is a very tight rope to walk, and legally there is a very broad river here and as long as you stay on the river and you don't get into the bank, right, then you're free to do that. So for people like what Chad's saying, you hit the bank when you say, I want to burn the cans into the ground. Okay. You hit the bank when you say you should die for what you're saying, or I hope you die. And see, even then, and this has happened to me, okay, on a couple different occasions. Well, you should be fed to a wood chipper, or you should die. Well, that doesn't technically hit the threshold of a criminal threat. So unless somebody just blatantly says, I'm going to try to kill you, then you're in that river. I mean, people will exploit it.
So I'm safe in saying and looking at Lance and saying, man, I can't stand you right now. I'm going to Fargo your butt.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, because what do you actually mean by Fargo, right? I mean,
feed you to a wood chipper.
Well, yeah. So even
is
then,
that your buddy in the wood chipper then?
Because then you didn't technically mean that you were going to do that, or you know what I'm saying? It's like okay, so even the way you said it still isn't technically that way. So people are exploiting. And this goes back to what we talked about last week about our constitutional rights.
I'm going through this with my son right now. He's got a kid at school who gave him a date, said, I'm going to beat the crap out of you after school. I'm like, dude, that's a threat. Mm-hmm. That is a threat. Go talk to the resource officer. And then you sit there and you go, well, how's he going to do it? And is this really an ambiguous thing? It's nuts.
It comes back to responsibility. Responsibility, okay, we talked about this last week. We have a clip out on this. If we are to maintain our rights in a free society, then there has to have some personal responsibility when it comes to that. You can say it. Should you say it? And those are sometimes two different things. Okay, and the last thing we have on the program here today, which we don't have a lot of time to cover, so I'm kind of glad we got it jammed in here into the back. But Trump third term. You guys going for a Trump third term?
I'm going to be honest.
There's a path for it to happen, but man, it's a lot of finagling.
Let's change the Constitution.
80% of me wants to say let's roll, but I don't know what the results look like. I know there are people talking about it. I know there's attorneys behind the scenes trying to figure out, and I've already heard some of the stuff that's been written that they're going to try to do it around, which is, somewhat scary. But I will say,
Manchurian candidate stuff.
If the other side of the aisle, the Democrats, had the same situation, they would be talking and trying to do the same thing. So we just got to understand that that's just part of the game. But until 2 years passes, so we still had 18 months the last time you checked me on that. It's probably down now to 17 months or whatever that's going to be. I don't know what this is going to look like yet. I don't know if I would be for the guy in 2 years from now, depending on how all this shakes out. I don't know.
See results.
It's way too early.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chaos brewing. There's a lot of risk and reward all on the table at the same time. And I don't know how it's going to shake out. And until I see a 2-year kind of status results where things have been, because there's so much manipulation flying around too. I just need to see the end points of some of these activities. And are things moving in a better direction, and are we in a position to get better results? And that's not going to happen for at least another 17 months. So for me to say one way or the other, just overall concepts of having an entrepreneur in the office, I'm like, dude, roll with it. But I seriously doubt that's going to happen. But there will be people making a case.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated by some of the hypocrisy I'm seeing. Because some of the same people who are walking out there talking about trying to figure out how to get him a third term are the same ones who have been years saying that we need limitations on the House and the Senate.
I agree with that. That argument I heard this morning on a podcast I listened to this morning, that exact argument, the constitutionalists that are diehard, and then now that they're switching their, then there's not a small group.
But that's to me,
big group.
it's a big group. It's just a massive hypocrisy.
Yeah,
massive.
Well, and of course, it goes back to
wear the shoe, right?
Yeah.
If the shoe fits.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you can't tell nobody.
I'm trying to put it on.
It.
I'm like, oh, Snow White and that little tiny, the sisters trying to put on that little suit.
Yeah.
But I'm trying, baby.
Yeah. And honestly, they don't necessarily have to make changes to the Constitution to accomplish a third term for him. But I'm just going to be really straight. I don't know that you'll get a majority of our populace to go along with all of that manipulation and finagling.
I think you're right, and I think what would happen if reason plays out here, there is, if things go well, because people may want to undo a bunch of stuff because it might not. So there's a lot of ifs on the table, people.
Right.
And we shouldn't try to sabotage our country, by the way, like some are trying to do right now. We should want everybody to win to the best of our ability. That conversation in a serious tone 2 years from now could go either way, will hurt the next Republican candidate if they are trying to make that work. So
I think you're right.
The next 8 years, to me, strategically would be too much of a risk for one more Trump term. Plus, he's going to be really tired. I know he's tough and this is his life, but he's going to be real tired. Age is just what it is. And it's going to hit him really because he's moving literally at breakneck speed. And I'm not sure. He's trusting a lot of people that can make mistakes because you can't do all of it alone. He's activating teams, and the amount of action meetings he's having on a daily basis is flooring me. And it makes me a little nervous because not all these people are equipped.
Yeah.
Nobody has a team that big that's that equipped.
And people make mistakes along the way. And of course, the media is exploiting that, and this one off that takes place, or these two offs that take place, and the hypocrisy on, well, there was one off, two offs on the other side. And I just look at it once again, and this is the way I look at it. What if the shoe was on the other foot, right? What if there was a president that was there, let's just say Barack Obama. Okay, let's say Barack Obama decides, I'm going to run again. He's a younger guy, okay? Let's say he decides, I'm going to run again for a third term, even though it doesn't directly precede the last two terms that he had. I'm not for that. I'm not for somebody who, not for bending the Constitution and what we're supposed to do based upon my own belief system. I'm just not a hypocrite. I'm just absolutely not a hypocrite.
And at this time, he can't do it.
Yeah.
Because it states you cannot be elected. That's the key. And that's where all the manipulations come into play. But in that you don't have to change it.
If we can prove...
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
How about,
this is where we're going to go, though. It's going to go there.
We have a war on American soil, martial law is enacted, and then we just don't have... Okay, so... on this.
No. That's not how they accomplish it without changing the Constitution. It's already been laid out. The story's been written about how they accomplish a third Trump term without changing the Constitution. Here it is. They run J.D. Vance. They can either use Donald Trump as a vice president or his son. Vance comes into office. He immediately resigns. Next in line, Donald Trump. Boom. It's done.
And
and the vice presidency goes to whoever the Senate can confirm.
Yeah. And then it goes.
It's done.
And I got to say this too, like, and we got to wrap it up. But it's when I hear people already, you see this stuff on social media, obviously, and it's like, oh well, we could have, Donald Trump's son and then Barron Trump, and it's like we don't have kings with successorships here. Okay, and that's what we're looking at is people that want this to be the case, and it's like blows my mind. I mean, it blows my mind that what I'm seeing is if you want to pick a side, okay, and I'm getting closer to this understanding that I'm truly just an independent, but I'm a Republican, so this
I'm
is
a Trumper. That I know y'all hate it, but
yeah. Well, and see, this is my
so
side.
does some of my family.
This is my side that's choosing this, right? This is not the opposing team. That's
But I
trying
wouldn't
to
want
put
all that
this on.
stuff. I know. I'm sorry but I want to be clear. I'm in favor with 80% of what's happening right now. And I hope it goes well. And I'm nervous that it won't. Just to be clear. But I would not want for us to go down the road of having him president another 4 years. I think there's going to be more qualified people in the pipeline that we need to look at seriously. And I think if they try to do that, and I believe they will, it's going to hurt some of the things that could go well, that I'm hoping go well. I'm really hoping for success. Or we're going to turn it over, undo some stuff. And what I was seeing on the other side at scale was scarier to me. This is just as scary as that was in my book. Mm-hmm. So, and
two-party politics is going to be the death of us, man.
oh, dude, this is getting to
ridiculous.
But I want to also say that Trump is not a Republican either.
No, he was a Democrat before he was a Republican.
And then he was more of
an independent.
Yeah, he's a business guy that played both sides of the fence, just to be honest, whatever interested him and what he needed to get what he needed done where he was at.
Like him, love him, or hate him. I agree.
And who did he endorse throughout his height in his business?
Both candidates.
Never nobody. He gave money to both sides.
Yes.
And he played the middle.
Yeah.
And he was a Democrat, and he moved over to Republican, and he played that independent spot, and he beat up on Republicans, and he beat up on Democrats at some times, and he dug into some a little more than others. We won't get into that debate today, but just realize that these hardcore Republicans, that Trump is not where you're at. Just to be clear. He's not where they're at. He's banking off of some of what they want to hear, but realize that's what he does.
He's doing exactly what he promised to do in the 80s.
He's doing it. Well, and he's promised it this whole
and
time to his election.
And he's doing it the exact same way that he promised to do it, for the exact same reasons that he promised to do it back in the 80s.
I don't think Canada's going to work out, though.
We're not going to be able to buy Canada, is what you're saying.
I mean,
but Greenland's still on the table, right?
He is on record, and it is a public statement that he made, and he is doing it. And quite honestly, Republicans...
he would run as a Republican, and he's doing it.
Yeah.
Yes.
He saw this a long time ago.
And actual Republicans should be absolutely insulted by all of this.
Well, we'll see.
People change.
No, he made the statement. I would do it as a Republican
right
because
now.
I can manipulate them.
I just hope he doesn't fail real hard.
But think about this. I'll go here though, Chad, on that, and we all can give our.
And I don't think he will.
Here.
I think it's going to go well.
But I want to say that statement used to hold more water, okay, and for me, okay. But the reality is both extreme Democrat and Republicans are easily manipulated. And I'm not sure that there's not a real science. There is a real science, I'll just promise you this, at play when we're trying to group our base, get our base all stirred up to action, and that, once again, it's not so much what that individual believes who's in elected office, in as much as it's a tightrope of making sure that you don't piss off the base and trying to frame whatever content that is coming across the board. And it goes back to this. Okay. I'm a conservative. I'm a fiscal conservative, which makes me a Republican. But my senator or representative's job is to bring home the bacon. How hypocritical and so twisted is this? As long as
if the money's coming here, it's okay.
Yes. Crazy. Okay. So last words, guys. What do you got? Andy, you want to go first, Chad?
Last word for me is that the pressure has been put upon me by my son to find a vehicle worthy of going into the cruise night for him to drive. We thought we had one, which was my father's 1972 MG but we found out over the weekend that its long-standing problem of just deciding to not run at random has not been fixed. So now he's like, okay, we got to find something else. I want to be in the cruise. I'm like, okay, whatever. That's my final. So if somebody's got something you're willing to loan me or sell me for $1
for a weekend,
give me a shout.
Young grasshopper. Okay, Andy.
10/10 of 2022, we had a meeting with the school district and the city. It was a Board of Education work session along with the city. And there was some really amazing things that happened during that work session. And we got a copy of the City Commission Strategic Plan and Progress Update. With their value statements, which is a thriving community, an expanded tax base, and city organization providing trustworthy service. And as you go through here, all the things, their strategic goal, strategic plan, the survey of the action plan, the community development factors considered by site selectors and industries, accomplishments and progress, accomplishment and progress with different sectors, all the way down to Starbucks, Freddy's, Ben Franklin, who with, there's some stuff going on there, but QT, which is here now, community growth housing units, the number, the years, when all those units are going to come online. Some of it's going a little quicker, actually, with more potential. So this looked like really ambitious goals and accomplishment and progress. And when you go through this, it's actually compounding. And you're going to see, this is a plug for the school district again. You're going to see, and I would like to see more collaboration, but you're going to see the school district, after we come out of a process that we're going through with some community members and some staff that are doing some things, a similar plan. And we have a rock star team right now. And I'm really excited about our plan being projected and pushed out in the community to where in 3 years from today, we'll be able to start looking at that and watching how those goals are coming at us. We're not just running at them anymore. And I think it's exciting for our community. We're going to have some things fall in place for this to work for us, but those conversations are happening. And I'm excited about what Newton will be able to do differently and better than everybody else to stand above the rest. And this community deserves it. Our kids deserve it. And I would love to be the district that other schools look at and go, what are they doing and how do we do it? And we're moving in that direction. It's exciting to see.
Absolutely.
That's my last word.
Absolutely. My last word is it's Liberation Day, which means that all of the tariffs that the Trump administration had put in place is supposed to take effect today. I'm sure that you're going to hear a lot about stuff in the news about it, both, catastrophe sales, et cetera. You're going to listen to one side and it's going to tell you it's the greatest thing since sliced bread that ever happened. And we need King Trump the rest of our days. And then the other side is going to talk about how horrible it is and how catastrophic it's going to be. But the reality is it's going to take some time to actually find out how this is going to affect us. And the truth of the matter is looking at it realistically, there's going to be some areas in where it does a lot of good. And then there's going to be some areas where maybe not so much.
That's right.
But the key is after we start to see the results, how administration pivots going forward based upon the outcome. But you got to look, it's going to be 6 months to a year before we really see what is going to be the results. So hold fast. It's not overnight. There's going to be some good and there's going to be some bad. And if you're not looking at things that way, maybe you should consider starting to do that. There's pros and cons. There's positive and negative in everything, folks. Have a good week, everybody.
See you guys.